How did we get here? How did we get here? What in the Alice in Wonderland nightmares is going on right now?
All I can say is how fucking dare you?
If you voted for that man, if you voted for anybody other than Kamala and you live in one of the states that it was, close, or if you didn't vote, fuck you.
The best is yet to come.
I chose family. I chose women. I chose America. I love you.
How the fuck is this still happening? All I've ever known politically is hatred.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with you and your mother and your sister. I'm just done with all of this.
It's the biggest red wave I've seen since Ronald Reagan's 49-state victory.
There were appeals to racism in this campaign, and there is racial bias in this country, and there is sexism in this country.
I can't help but wonder if the American people have given up on democracy.
I hear what you're saying, and I do see it differently because I'm thinking about the people who are not a part of anybody's elite, who are hurting tonight.
If she were a 6'4" white man from Arkansas or from, Florida, do you think she would be losing by that much?
I think that we've got to be honest. Among Hispanic men and black men, there's a lot of misogyny.
There are African-American women who know a little bit about being talked down to, and know a little bit about having their economic dreams crushed, who tried to dream a big dream over the past couple of months.
It's not enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy.
There's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men.
And tonight they're trading in a lot of hope for a lot of hurt. And they were hoping that maybe this time, one of their own could be seen as worthy.
Things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States.
To all the pollsters, the election pollsters, blow me. I don't ever want to from you again, ever.
People who said that he was a Hitler lover weren't Democrats, they were Republicans. People who said that he was a fascist weren't Democrats, they were Republicans who worked for him.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Cobra Cast 199. I'm your host, Jeremy Prime, Mage IDOT of Unit 199. Happy to see all of you here on a Wednesday. And we're going to be talking about someone that I consider to be one of the most evil human beings on the planet, and that would be Anthony Fauci. I'm going to try not to say anything that will violate TOS when talking about Anthony Fauci. However, that's probably going to be difficult for me because no amount of words can actually explain how much I hate this man. I truly, truly hate this man. And he made a fool of himself today at the hearing that he was part of. We're going to react to it. But the fact is he still is going home to his multi-million-dollar residence, and he still has all of the money they scammed people out of. And so just because he got roasted in front of the world and we can make fun of him, it doesn't change the fact that this evil piece of shit who is directly responsible for ruining millions and millions and millions and millions of lives pisses me the fuck off. Holy shit, man. Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it, but damn it, it pisses me off, and it pisses a lot of people off, as it should. JMNZZ450 says, physically hurts listening to that scumbag knowing I can't enact video game scenarios on him. Probably going to have to mute during the BS hearings and watch some Eva Mendes videos. Hey, brother, I totally understand. Yeah, well, the problem is he really didn't say anything. He basically just pleaded the fifth for I think 100 and something times. you know? And it's weird. Like, I haven't even thought about Anthony Fauci in forever. And now seeing him at the forefront today, it just makes me so angry. And I'm going to try again to not say the things that I want to say about him, because it would violate every TOS on every platform. So I'm just going to try to stay calm. Little Jim's Halo says, so we won't ever forget this smug gremlin face. Absolutely. CPP at 1999 says, hey, Jared, just moved back from Arizona to Kansas, 17-hour drive, no sleep, got to the house, napped for 4 hours, grabbed Culver's for the first time in 6 years. As goated as I remember, hail the 199 and King Trump. You know what? That sounds like a damn good day right there. 17 hours and no sleep. I don't know if I can pull this one. I don't know if I can pull this off at my age now. So obviously you guys know I love to drive, and I'm driving to Vegas next week. And so I don't know how far I can go. Back, when was this? Like 6 or 7 years ago now, I think. I drove from Florida to Los Angeles in one run. I mean, obviously I stopped, stretched my legs, all that. It was one run from Florida to California, one run, no stopping. I don't think I can, there's probably no way I can pull something like that off now. Yeah, I'm going to see how far I can go on this Vegas drive though. Sleep takes on a whole new meaning after 40. It was about mid 40s for me, when there were certain things that were catching up. I still feel like I'm 25 most of the time. George Strait song for you. But, most of the time I do feel like I'm 25. But every now and then I get reminded that I'm actually old. But congratulations on making the 17-hour drive, no sleep. Glad you made it safe and got some Culvers. That's what's up right there. Don's Third Leg says, make Fauci take the jab, you know where. Shaky Owens, member message, thank you. Pat K says, Fauci, I'm thinking you meant Fauci, drives in the left lane without passing. Evil scum. I'm already fired up enough about Fauci. Don't get me started on people that drive in the left lane without passing. Outside of people like Fauci, people that drive in the left lane without passing are the most evil human beings on earth. And again, I would like to repeat what I think should be done to them, but I'm on YouTube and I respect TOS. But yeah, left lane drivers that aren't passing, fuck you. All right, we'll just leave it at that. Normal Man says, watching the Fauci hearing, it made me wish medieval methods of interrogation were allowed for hearings like this. 100%. Luke Fox, you know what? I'll allow this. I will allow this. Hang on, where did it go? If you are constantly passing people, you can stay in the left lane. I'll allow it. 100%. You are correct about that. But it's people that are in the left lane that are not passing. Those people deserve almost as bad of punishment as Fauci. Almost. Not quite, though. Zinni Biscuit says, today's hearing can be summed up with, how dare you read my diary? My Fifth Amendment rights, wee you. Yeah, exactly. Tree Bear says, hail Zulu Cobra. Is this a meme that I've missed? I'll have to check that out, Tree Bear. Jake the Movie Geek says, Jeremy, instead of Fauci, can you react to Star Wars Theories, Vader, Fanfield 2, or both? I don't think this is the show for that, but we're going to focus on Fauci and some other political stuff today right now. I still haven't had a chance to watch Theories thing. It's what, like 20 minutes or something like that? YouTube is run by Mark. That says, Fifth Amendment doesn't protect Fauci from being prosecuted. Grindodrome says, let's see. Little clip for the chat, please. All right, mods, can you find that for me and put it in the DM group? And I gotta screen it before we watch it. Okay, just got to do that. Let's see. Todd says, I drove fast in my younger years. Now I'm old and slow. I still drive fast. I am an angry driver, and I really hate people on the road. I say worse things when I'm driving than I say in video game lobbies. It is bad. And it's not meant to be personal, but I hate you if you're on the road and you're in my way. I hate you. I despise you and everything about you and your entire existence if you're in my way on the road. I just do. It's not personal. It's just part of it. So understand that. Maybe you should fly. No, not going to fly. Not going to happen. Jimbo199 says, Jeremy, what's your stance on turning on hazard lights in a storm? I'll do it if the storm is actually bad enough to be hazardous. I think that this is something everyone should do. And the reason I say this is because 95% of the people on the road can't fucking drive anyway. So I think if you're dealing with a relatively bad storm on the road, on the interstate, I think you should always turn your hazard lights on because everyone else is stupid. Everyone else is stupid. And because when you're on the road, I can only speak for myself, but when I'm on the road, I'm not worried about my driving ability. I'm driving for everyone else because everyone else is stupid. And so I think that this is a better policy to make sure to avoid stupid people. So that's my stance on it. Because people are stupid. Captain JPS says, I want Gary to read Fauci's diary in his gay voice. Well, we might as well jump into the Fauci news. Because, good Lord, man. It's been a day. It's been a day for sure. With Anthony Fauci, one of the worst human beings on the planet, one of the shittiest human beings on the planet. He actually was grilled all day long today, and it got to the point where he just refused to answer anything. He refused to say anything, and it was embarrassing, completely embarrassing. Now, here is his opening statement right here. Dr. Fauci, the face of evil, here's his opening statement.
However, given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me, the only conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
So Rand Paul absolutely obliterated this piece of garbage today. And here's just a few clips of that with Rand Paul.
1 million Americans.
Shout out to the blonde who made a cameo appearance as well.
1 million Americans died from COVID-19. Some estimate as many as 15 million people died worldwide from COVID-19. Publicly, Anthony Fauci promoted the theory that the virus arose naturally, while privately, he was well aware of a mountain of evidence suggesting the virus originated in the lab. The American people deserve answers. The American people deserve to know why dangerous research was funded by NIAID in a totalitarian country, in a lab that lacked acceptable safety standards. The decision to fund dangerous gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, will likely go down in history as perhaps one of the worst public health decisions. Frankly, the American people deserve an apology.
They deserve a lot more than an apology, but an apology is a start. But we will never be able to truly understand how much damage and pain COVID put not just Americans, but people all over the world through. It is horrific. People could not see their loved ones. People couldn't go to family members' funerals. People couldn't get married. It was insane. And I say this as somebody that was in the state of Florida, which relatively I didn't have a whole lot of problems here in Florida. You know, we did have the 2 weeks to slow the curve bullshit. We had a little bit of issues here and there, but it wasn't crazy. But I know of places that were absolutely insane in this country, primarily blue states, blue cities. And some of the stories that people shared were just awful. People lost their jobs, lost livelihood. And then once the financial fallout happens, that affects your relationships, that affects so many things. Some people still haven't even recovered from COVID. As we stand right now, some people still haven't even fully recovered from COVID.
I hope today Dr. Fauci will come clean, admit it was a mistake to fund dangerous research in China, admit that the risk of this dangerous research exceeded any possible benefits, ask forgiveness, and pledge to help our government devise safeguards so a man-made epidemic never happens again. Instead of an apology, you have for years avoided responsibility. Regarding the lockdowns, you argue that you did not personally issue every lockdown order, close every school, or impose every mandate. But officials across the country invoked your authority to justify these decisions. And you presented your recommendations not as judgments open to debate, but as dictates of science itself. Your own words demonstrate that you understood the influence you exercised. On March 14th, 2020, you wrote that the task force recommendations were driven by me, yourself, Deb, and CDC. The next day you wrote that you had convinced Mayor Bill de Blasio to close the New York City schools, so you were involved. That same night, Governor Gavin Newsom's chief of staff told you that the governor had decided to close California schools, bars, and restaurants after watching you on television. Presidents, governors, mayors, school boards, corporations, and
we can never, like, hearing all of this stuff all over again, man, it brings back so many memories of all of that. And I will just say what I said shortly after. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like from day one I was like, oh my God, this is the, but like shortly after, I don't remember how long after, but it was shortly after the COVID stuff started to get ridiculous. And I'm like, this is just the flu. I mean, that's really all it was. It was just the flu. Now, again, I have to say I'm not a medical expert. Bullshit. If you think some idiot sitting here in front of video games and a picture of Dale Earnhardt is a fucking medical expert, then I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. But it was literally just the flu. It was just a cold. That's all it was. That's it.
Congress all bear responsibility for the decisions they made. The COVID lockdown, however, could never have been inflicted without you aiding and abetting the crime. Children lost years of education.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the reminder.
Businesses built over a lifetime disappeared. Patients delayed cancer screenings and other medical care. Families were separated from dying relatives. Workers were ordered to accept a medical procedure or lose their jobs. Worship assembly, employment, education.
I do not mean any disrespect at all. Okay, you said your grandmother died from COVID, so it was more than just the flu. No disrespect to you. R.I.P. to your grandmother. Without getting too personal, before COVID and all this, all of that bullshit, I had a family member that was in his 40s, died from the flu. In his 40s, he died from the flu. Why did he die from the flu? Because he was very unhealthy. He was very unhealthy. So RIP to your grandmother, no disrespect to that, but people die from the flu all the time. It happens a lot more than you think. The problem is it's never been weaponized to try and scare the general public. So people are not aware. Like, I don't know how many thousands people die, like every year to the flu, but like a lot of people die from the flu every single year.
And travel were restricted in the name of science. Well, you did not impose every restriction. You used your public authority to justify them. While you concluded publicly that COVID occurred naturally, your private record tells a different story. In early 2020, your hand-picked virologist warned that the virus appeared to have been manipulated in the lab. In a conference call concerning the origin of the virus, all but 2 of the participants believed deliberate insertion was possible. Your concern was not merely theoretical. That same week, you led an urgent effort to determine whether your own agency had funded the research related to these experiments.
And I will say that I don't know if I ever really caught COVID or not, because I was told that I did, but I personally felt no different. Let's just be real, okay? If you've ever gotten the flu or gotten a cold, it ain't fun, okay? It's just not. There's nothing fun about having a severe cold or a severe flu. It sucks. It's not fun. You're not having a good time. You're miserable, and you feel like you're going to die if you've ever had a bad cold or a bad, flu or the cold, whatever. So when I was told that I had it, I don't really feel like anything was different. I still felt like shit. You know what I mean? And in my mind, I was in my subconscious, I was like, yeah, well, you have COVID, so this is dangerous. But like, I don't really remember feeling any different from when I've had a cold before. So
we're now under suspicion. Hours later, your assistant reported that the Wuhan experiments had indeed been reviewed
This is true.
and approved by the NIH. Those were not the actions of officials who believed that a research-related origin was an absurd conspiracy theory. They were the actions of officials urgently trying to determine whether their agency funding was connected to the research under discussion, connected to the pandemic. You could not hide that your agency had funded the Wuhan research or your long history of defending gain-of-function research.
what Magnum Norris says here is accurate. They didn't count COVID for George Floyd, but they counted it for people who died in motorcycle accidents. Grandmothers died from flu, by the way. That there were people that were dying in all type, like vehicle accidents, work accidents, whatever. And they were counting that as COVID deaths. 100%.
The only alternative left was to argue that COVID-19 did not originate in the Wuhan lab. You were not a detached observer. You had an institutional interest in the public believing that federally funded research had nothing to do with the pandemic. It was a conflict of interest from the very beginning. The authors of the proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 privately had serious doubts about a natural origin. Within days, though, they flipped. And they all wrote in proximal origin that the virus was almost certainly not a laboratory construct. That paper was then used by the government and the media and you to discredit Americans who were asking the same questions that you and the authors were asking yourselves privately.
Thank you, Steve.
You even cited proximal origin from the White House podium. You held it out as evidence that the virus could not have been engineered. But you didn't disclose your role in the discussions that preceded the writing of the paper. You did not disclose the author's original concerns. You did not reveal that you had been part of the paper, that you had read and offered editorial comments on the paper before it was published. before you began using it as evidence that it couldn't have originated in the lab. You did not disclose that you had immediately investigated yourself whether NIAID funding might be connected to the research. You did not tell the American people the full story. Duly released private messages indicate that the doubts with the authors and others didn't disappear after the publication. So while this was being waived,
just a heads up, guys, because you guys know how I am. Like, sometimes I'm memeing, sometimes I'm joking. I think this is a more serious stream. So Vestige, I appreciate the compliment, but like, this isn't the stream for that, brother. Okay. Like, I do appreciate it. I like the compliment is nice. And I really understand, you know, it takes a lot to put this together every stream, but I really more interested in super chats than compliments, but I do appreciate it, brother. I really do. But let's stay focused. Okay.
at the White House to show that it couldn't come from the lab, the authors were still privately continuing to assign a meaningful probability to a laboratory origin. One thing in public and another in private.
So now that's where the clip ends right there. Okay. But we have more. There's a lot more that happened today. And, you know, because Fauci just kept ignoring every single thing that they were asking of him, it got really ridiculous. And so even Josh Hawley right here said this.
Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people.
Well said, Josh Hawley. Well said. Here's Rand Paul.
Dr. Fauci, would you like to at least answer this one question for us today and let us know whether or not you've changed your mind on whether or not the benefits of gain-of-function research outweigh the risks?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
The chairman has denied your assertion of privilege and directed you to answer, but you nonetheless refuse and stand on privilege despite the existence of the pardon. The committee will have to consider after this hearing what appropriate action should be taken against you for the failure to testify after being directed to do so. It's against the law to obstruct an investigation of Congress. There will be repercussions to your refusal to testify today.
And it kept getting better because here's more from Josh Hawley right here calling him out.
You don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic, you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally, cash prizes totaling over $1 million. And what were these individuals doing in the depth of the pandemic in November of 2020, when millions of Americans were suffering from COVID? What were they doing? I tell you what they're doing. Folkers was on your behalf soliciting and gathering information for a cash award. Let's look at it. We've got his email right here, right over my shoulder. Volker says, I'm working on this nomination for the Dan David Award for Fauci. We need to beef up the COVID part. Do you have language in the can that you could share that delineates how we responded in new ways to COVID. He sends this to multiple federal employees. What was the Dan David Award? Do you remember, Doc?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
It was a $900,000.
Jimmy Ray says, I don't think you can have it both ways. It was either just a flu or it was engineered in a lab through gain of function research. My 30-year-old brother spent a week in ICU and his lungs still haven't fully healed. Yeah, I mean, I personally never saw any evidence that this was anything other than the common flu. That doesn't mean that people did. Again, how many, somebody typed it in the chat earlier, how many deaths every year? Let me ask, how many deaths every year from the cold or flu? How many deaths every year? Let's see. Let me look this up, okay? So we can know for sure how many flu deaths per year. And we'll just put average. Okay. Some of you are saying like 40 to 70,000 or something like that. And the interesting thing was during that year, they went to zero. They went to zero. That's it. You know? And so so that where do those deaths go? Where does all of those statistics go? Now, what I remember from it, and again, because we're on YouTube, just saying, I'm not a doctor, YouTube. I've got fucking video games behind me and a picture of Dale Earnhardt, okay? I'm not a doctor. I'm a retard. But what we learned from COVID more than anything is that people will respond when they are told to fear. And people did respond. But I also think that they overcooked their grits a lot. Okay, so on Grok it says, yeah, I guess like 45, 55,000, you know, worldwide, the World Health Organization estimates that seasonal influenza causes 290,000 to 650,000 respiratory deaths every year. So, there's a lot of different numbers out there. It's in the tens of thousands. Some put it into, I would like to go pre-COVID to find out what the numbers were pre-COVID. But ultimately, people still get sick from it. And a lot, again, I said it, I had a family member long before COVID ever became a thing. I want to say this was like 2014, 2015. I had he was in his mid 40s and he died from the flu. He went into the hospital thinking it was going to be a routine thing, went for a turn for the worse, ended up never leaving the hospital. Now, again, he didn't die because of the flu. He died because he was extremely unhealthy and he got the flu, and he didn't deal with the flu early enough. So once it got so bad and he was so unhealthy, it ended up taking his life. But sorry to hear about your brother, Jimmy Ray. And nobody's trying to dismiss your brother being sick, for sure. Magnum Norris for 50 says, Jimmy Ray, we never said it didn't exist. We shouldn't give up our republic for it, though. Well, I kind of did say it didn't exist. I mean, and so that's Jimmy Ray's point, is all he's saying is, was this developed in a lab through gain of function, or am I saying that it was just the flu? So to his point, he's got a fair point about what he's saying on that, for sure. All right, let's continue.
Cash award. $900,000 cash award. And he got it because he used federal employees to get it. And this wasn't the only award, was it, Dr. Fauci? In fact, you applied for and received at least 8 other federal cash prizes on federal time using federal employees and federal resources. Here they are over my shoulder. Besides the Dan David Award, you've got the Partnership for Public Service. You've got the Adelson Prize. You've got the Smithsonian Award. You've got the National Academy of Medicine's Award. You've got the CDC Foundation. In fact, you turned your staff into a full-time application machine. You actually wrote to people and said, do you think maybe I'd qualify? And you got cash for all of this. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 employees, was it? In fact, you used 8 separate federal employees on federal time using federal resources to solicit cash awards. Isn't that true?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Here they are right over my shoulder. Here's all of them. The people that you use, federal employees, so that you could go and get cash money. And the most hilarious part is that you weren't content to even dragoon them into applying for all of these cash awards. You then had them go out to the ethics agencies and ethics watchdogs and demand that you be able to get the money. That's right. We've got it in your emails. Your staff and employees on federal time using federal resources being paid with federal dollars are soliciting cash for you. And then they're turning around and saying to the agency, we don't want just an answer. We want to get to yes, because Fauci wants the money.
Woo! Fired up. Love it. And that anger kind of, a lot of people can, they're living vicariously through that anger right there. Old Salty Dog says, Jeremy, for most people, it was just a flu, but for some primarily unhealthy people with certain other conditions, it was bad. The treatment ventilators and what is the other thing you said? Killed them. Source, I have been a nurse for 15 years. Yeah, and that sounds about right. Again, I'm not an expert on it, but applying common sense to it, I know a lot of people in my life that got COVID. And when they had COVID, it really was no different than them having the flu or a cold. It really wasn't. That's all it was for anybody that I knew personally that went through it. I never knew someone that had to go to the hospital. I'm not saying it didn't exist. I'm not saying there aren't really bad situations, but there's always exceptions to the rule. But for me, the people I know and the people that I know that know people, no one really knew anyone that actually got sick and died or almost died from it. It was all just like, yeah, I got a bad flu and I couldn't, I think not being able to taste or something like that or smell was one of the things that were added to it, but that was about it. Big Homie Shell says, hey, Vic, thought you were going to be at Americon tomorrow. Drive 19 hours to North Carolina. I thought that's the thing that's in Texas. I don't know what that is in North Carolina. I thought the Americon thing was the thing in Texas in August. Am I wrong about that? Now, there was one great moment here where Fauci's lawyer would not shut the fuck up, so he ended up getting kicked out.
It's against the law to obstruct an investigation of Congress. There will be repercussions to your refusal to testify today. Senator Peters. You're not recognized. You're not recognized. If you are unruly, you will be removed from the proceeding. You are not recognized, and you are not recognized, sir. Sir, you are not recognized. You are not recognized. Security, we'll hold off. But
deport this mother effer immediately.
You will respect these proceedings. You were told not to sit at the table. You insist on sitting at the table, and we told you would not be recognized. You are not invited here for testimony, sir. You are being disruptive. Would you behave this way in a courtroom? No, because the judge would put you in jail. I can't do that today, but I can have you escorted from the premises. So I would say, sir, sit quietly and don't say another word. I said, sit quietly. You are not recognized. Another word and you're gone.
Absolutely embarrassing. Oh, it gets better. It gets better. Just wait. Okay. It gets better.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear what the attorney has to say.
He is not recognized by the committee or the chair. If he speaks again, he will be removed from the room. This testimony is from Anthony Fauci. This is not a game with his lawyers. He can advise. His lawyers can give him advice. He's got a half dozen here. They're all allowed to talk to him.
Yes.
All right? But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered. For a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
Get the fuck out. Yeah, the blonde didn't have to leave, by the way. She didn't have to leave. Somebody get this beggar out of here. By the way, to that point, no bullshit. Somebody sent me this clip. I had no idea about this. Okay? In the movie, in the Odyssey, the black guy in the beginning, in the first few minutes, when Tom Holland walks up to him, one of the suitors, the black guy says, "Are you calling us beggars?" I'm like, no shit. Holy fuck. So the black guy in the movie, the first thing he says to Tom Holland, because Tom Holland's talking to a guy that's a beggar, and the black guy to Tom Holland, he's like, "You calling us beggars?" And I'm like, no shit. The lore just keeps getting better. It's so fucking good. I was like, holy shit, I didn't catch that.
Records state that Dr. Fauci will still have the advice of the other half a dozen attorneys that he brought along today.
All right, so that was great to see Rand Paul pull that off. Now, I saw someone in the chat saying this is a dog and pony show. I agree. I'm not here to tell you that it's not a dog and pony show. It is. It absolutely is. I said that at the beginning of this, where I said, like, Fauci's still going to go home and go to his, $1 million home and all of that. And that's what drives me crazy about this whole thing, is that he's still a free man. So I'm not going to deny that it is a dog and pony show, but at least this man gets to hear how disgusting and horrible he is. And I'll take a small win if I can get one. And I consider this a small win for Fauci to sit there and have to listen to how horrible of a human being he is, because he absolutely is a horrible human being. And so you take the small wins how you can. And so we did get this one right. Where did it go? There was another one I wanted to show you guys if I can find it. By the way, I got to show you this. This is completely off topic, okay? But I clicked on this video the other day, okay? And what's interesting about this is I want to show you guys the video that I'm talking about, okay? So I clicked on this video and I was watching this, okay? And I was on my phone. I'm laying in bed and I see this video and I just kept watching. And I just kept watching. And I'm like, okay, all right. And I keep thinking, like, okay, it's gonna happen here. Literally, I was embarrassed how long I watched this shit before I realized it was just on a fucking loop. And I'm like, how stupid am I? It's just a loop. It's never, and I'm just like, oh man, okay, what's going to happen when it gets there? What's going to happen? And then I realized, like, you son of a bitch, this is just a loop. So yeah, see, it's a 15-second video. Like, I need closure. Almost got me 3 times before I checked the timer. fuck you. I just wanted to see the little cube make it. This continuation. Yeah. I thought, thanks a lot. I was watching this for 9 minutes. Yeah. Anyway, okay, back to the point though. I did see that though, and it really did get me. I was just like, you know what? I gotta tell the chat how that one got me. I was completely bought in. I was fascinated by it. Okay, here's another clip right here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will echo Senator Johnson's comments about your opening statement, Mr. Chairman. I think it was dead on. Very, very well done. Mr. Fauci, do you know who David Schertler is?
On the advice of counsel.
Oh, no.
Also, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. What does the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution say?
Yeah. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Bro, I got all these fucking super chats, okay? I got all these super chats. I didn't mean to highlight yours, but that's okay, Beaky. And Og Dog keeps switching from his main to his alt. And every time he switches from his main to his alt, he updates me in the fucking chat. I got all these super chats to worry about, and yet all I see is your stupid fucking comments. Hey, man, I'm back on my main, just letting you know. The fuck's wrong with me?
Constitution.
No, I'm just asking you what it says.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
I'm going to give the Constitution to my aide. He'll bring it over to you so you can have it for future reference. I think it's something that every American should know what the Constitution says. Do you know who wrote the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So you're invoking a right that you don't know who wrote it or what it says. Is that correct?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Wow. All right, let me tell you who David Schertler is for the audience, because
this happened, I think I've seen some of you say it was 111 times. I'd heard it was over 100 times that he had that answer. Over 100 times. Insane. Narco says, we should check Fauci's income taxes, get him Capone style, and he'll ironically die in prison of pneumonia. Gain of function research is only useful to weaponize a virus, nothing more. Many of the people who got COVID were asymptomatic, could still spread it through. The incubation time was also weeks. Spread while incubating. COVID sounds like a test run for a weaponized virus. And then if you want to go complete conspiracy theory, the forced vaccines are the second stage to weaken people, their DNA, and open them up to whatever comes next out of the next secret U.S. aid lab next. Damn, Narco dropping bombs. Thank you, Narco. I saw a lot of people responding to yours too as well. Packing protons for $111. Holy shit. On the advice of my super chat council, I respectfully hope that this counts as a Ripa clip contribution under the rights of the Constitution. I like it. We will. I will. You know what? Because of the content of the super chat, I will honor it a little bit later. I will honor it.
He was ejected by the chairman. He's a high-profile criminal attorney. He's represented some really great people, like Senator Bob Menendez. Maybe that's somebody who my Democrat colleagues may remember took gold bars as bribes from the Egyptians. And there's an article here in the Washington Free Beacon that talks about why you would hire a guy like David Schertler. And the comment is, if you're in deep shit, that's who you call. Do you feel like you're in deep shit?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You know what he's going to say.
Counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Clearly, what you think today is that somehow you're above reproach.
Yes.
Somehow you feel like you don't need to be.
This is exactly it. So again, let's go back to how the mainstream media treated Anthony Fauci. Remember, they made action figures of him. They made action figures. It was absolutely ridiculous. Insane. Last Boy Scout says Fauci equals Nolan. You know what's interesting about Nolan? He rejected Hollywood wanting to put films on digital, and he decided to release his movie against Hollywood's wishes during COVID. And that's what led him to leaving Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers pissed him off, because Warner Brothers wanted to release Tenet on digital, and he told Warner Brothers to go fuck themselves through COVID. Do you remember that?
Treated like a normal American. Can you do me a favor in the audience and stand up if during the time of the COVID pandemic, you were called a racist for calling the virus a Wuhan virus or the China virus? If you thought the 6-foot rule was total crap, if you thought the vaccine wasn't something that you should take, if you thought it was outrageous the way the mask policy was rolled out, if you were fired from your job for not taking that vaccine, including members of the military.
Bro. Oh my God. My man has to bring Trump into it. TDS lives on. TDS lives on. My man, we're talking about Fauci and you are obsessed with Trump. Holy fuck. There is no cure for TDS. None.
If you thought closing schools was catastrophically stupid, and that you thought that during these times saying these things made you somehow a lesser human being. Dr. Fauci, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you?
Let's back this up. Let's listen. Okay, hang on, let's listen to this. Let's get focused.
You were fired from your job for not taking that vaccine, including members of the military. If you thought closing schools was catastrophically stupid, and that you thought that during these times saying these things made you somehow a lesser human being. Dr. Fauci, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you? You're not willing to do that?
Wow.
That's not a question.
Wow. I haven't seen this part. I have not seen this part.
It's not a question. To your lawyers, not a question. It's a request.
What a horrible.
All you have to do is look up from your lawyers and look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them? That's a question. Are you able to look at them? You can sit down in the audience.
This dude is pure fucking evil, man.
There was a mom in Ohio during the depth of the coronavirus pandemic, decided to go to her high school football game for her son. They hadn't been out much. The kids had been learning at school, and then the school got shut down. They hadn't really gotten much out of that education. As any parent knew, that remote learning was no learning at all. But it was a Friday night. Her son wanted to go watch a buddy go play football. So they went to the stadium. They sat alone, far from everybody else, just a mom, a dad, a few kids. They didn't feel they needed to wear masks because it was stupid, because they were outside. They all live together. They're not near anybody. Dr. Fauci, do you know what happened to that mom and that family? That's a question.
I want to repeat. Yes, it is a dog and pony show. But this man having to sit here and be shamed for all of the lives that he affected and it destroyed, I'll take a small win where I can get it. Thank you, Gold Standard. Fauci equals bozo. Bill Herb says when COVID BS started lifting in 2022, here they started letting in heaps of immigrants. It was 500K in financial year 22-23 and nearly 1 million when you count 23-24. If COVID was so bad, why immediately open the floodgates? Exactly. Thank you, Bill Herb. And thank you, Gold Standard.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
They were dragged out of that stadium and arrested. Those policies were put in place because you had moronic politicians that listened to the words of a megalomaniac who was more interested in having met a Kardashian than the suffering of the American people. And that is you.
Yep.
Your advice to communities like that, to idiotic politicians who enforce those rules, arrested that mom for watching a football game with her own family outside. When that story broke, I said to myself, I cannot stand idly on the side and watch this happen. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people. I will make it my mission to make certain that every single one of those Democrats who did that will see that clip over and over and over again. Because there is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace. So let me ask you an opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize, to the people who you harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the dignity to just say you're sorry?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
So you won't apologize to the military members who Joe Biden summarily dismissed from the military for not taking the vaccine?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to the business owners that lost their business, shattered their lives, and they'll never recover?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to the moms who had to force their infant children, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, to put masks on, and what that did and how that traumatized those kids?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to the family members of the people who died because they took your advice and not only got the first vaccine, but the 5, 6 other boosters that they did not need?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to that mom from Ohio for being arrested for watching a football game with her family?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
So you didn't know who wrote the Fifth Amendment. It's James Madison. Lived in this town. I can only wonder what he would think of somebody like you invoking his writings to shield culpability for the actions that you took. It's no secret why you have to hire the biggest dirtbag attorney on the planet, because of what you did. I hope you're paying him well. And I hope that one way or the other, somewhere, sometime, you answer for your crimes.
Hey, man, that dude went ham, but I do agree with what a lot of you have said. A lot of you have said that, you know, Fauci is such an evil person that him sitting here and getting grilled really doesn't mean anything to him, and you're probably right. You're probably 100% accurate about that. You know, because the guy he's one of the most evil people that I've ever seen. I mean, he is pure evil in every sense of the word. So I don't even know if any of this means anything to him. This means probably nothing to him, and he probably has no regrets or anything. What a terrible person he is. John Wayne says Harvey Levin is disgusting. Propagandist who is equating the Fauci hearing to McCarthy hearings as if they are comparable, and were also nothing more than unjust witch hunts. Both were very just and sadly never go far enough. I actually have that bookmarked. I didn't watch what he had to say, but I saw a lot of people were quote tweeting Harvey Levin and TMZ because he had said something. There was a video of him saying something. Let me see if I can find this really quick. And never forget, TMZ laughed after, or cheered and laughed after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So thank you, John Wayne. And then we got Johnny Whiskit says, Jeremy, play this video of Chad Prather called Screw Your Forced Jab Mandates. It's still relevant. Thank you, Johnny the Whiz Kid. If we can get to that, I will. Bill Herb 50 says, to put it into perspective, Australia was like 25 million population at the time. They let in 1/25 of the population within just the first 2 years of opening back up. Fuck these people. In the words of MJ, they don't really care about us. Thank you, Bill Herb. Appreciate that. All right, this is Harvey Levin right here. So TMZ's Harvey Levin calls the attacks on Dr. Anthony Fauci one of the most heartbreaking things he's witnessed in government, comparing the push to jail him to the fear and persecution of the McCarthy era. Looks like he's getting a lot of backlash on this one.
I have not used TMZ's YouTube channel to vent personal feelings.
No, you just used it to celebrate the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We heard you guys cheering about it, by the way. Like, we heard you cheering in studio when President Trump announced the death of Charlie Kirk. We heard you cheering, you piece of shit.
About issues, but I'm going to do that today. Watching Anthony Fauci before a congressional hearing taking the Fifth Amendment is just one of the most heartbreaking things I have seen in government in my lifetime. And this is something we need to reckon with. That I'm going to say up front, I have problems the way the CDC handled COVID. I think that they did damage to children, to adults, and I don't think they did it maliciously. I think they did it because they were using their judgment and were overprotective, and I think at times overstated things they said they knew but really didn't. And I have personal problems with the way that COVID was handled. That said, Anthony Fauci, over a period of decades, has been an amazing public servant.
Get the fuck out of here, man. I'm going to have to pull the clip of them celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination because this is who they are. Thank you, Buster Nut Smash and Mar Millen. I appreciate it.
In the 80s, I had many friends who died of AIDS, a horrible, painful death.
Bunch of gays?
And I had friends who lived because of Anthony Fauci, because he was willing to look at experimental drugs in a different way than they had looked at them before. And that really resulted in lives saved. And he has done so many other things in his career to thwart epidemics, to save lives, not just in the United States, but all over the world. He has been a dedicated public servant who could have made a lot more money outside of government than inside. But
I'm still wondering how old is this guy, Harvey Levin? Harvey Levin's old. I got to be careful, man. We're on YouTube, but like, is it crazy for me to say that I think that the whole AIDS thing was a big scam back in the day too? Again, just my opinion, okay? Just my opinion. But I feel like the whole AIDS thing was a massive scam as well. When Magic Johnson got AIDS, I remember that everybody freaked out. It was insane how many people freaked out when Magic Johnson got AIDS. And we were all under, and I don't remember how old I was. I was very young, but like, I remember the idea of it was like, Magic Johnson is going to be dead in a few years now. Magic Johnson's going to outlive all of us. Magic Johnson's going to live to 350 years old now. It's fucking crazy. And that's really where it took off. Is mass hysteria about AIDS then. It was almost like the dude got paid off and said, hey, we're going to give you an early retirement. Early retirement. Here's all you got to do. I don't know. Just saying.
He stayed. And now we are at a point where members of Congress, and yes, you, Rand Paul, are on a witch hunt. And the best I can say for Rand Paul is that he's being really honest. I mean, he has said now over a period of years, he wants Anthony Fauci in a jail cell. He has said it out loud. He wants him in a jail cell. That's the point of this hearing. That's why they're doing this. They want to take something that Anthony Fauci says and then claim it amounts to perjury, and they want to prosecute him, they want to convict him, and they want to throw him in prison. That's the point of this hearing. There is no other point of this hearing. There could be. I mean, there are things they could certainly ask him, but he can't answer. Because if he answers, it doesn't matter what he says. You know, if you can prosecute somebody for frickin' seashells on the beach shore, then you could certainly prosecute somebody for what they say in a congressional hearing. And that's the climate we're in. We are in a Senator Joseph McCarthy climate where there is such fear that people have, and legitimate fear that they'll end up in prison for what they say, no matter what it is, if they are on the wrong side of somebody in Congress or the...
Bro, go fuck yourself. Someone was arrested for a meme. A MAGA memer was arrested. You guys remember this? I can't remember his name. I'm sure many of you are going to remember it. Someone was arrested for a MAGA meme. Many of you will remember his name. Somebody will say it and it'll ring a bell. I can't remember who it was. You remember? Yes. Somebody's going to say his name. It was a Hillary meme. That's right. It was, it's not, no, that's not it. No. The text to vote Hillary meme. Correct. That's who it was. It was the text to vote Hillary meme. Yeah, it was about voting. That's, I mean, of course, that's really like because people were stupid enough to, because the meme was so good. There it is, Douglas Mackey. That's the name right there. Thank you, Stuffed Vulture. Douglas Mackey was arrested for a fucking meme. A pro-MAGA memer arrested for that.
Administration that they have been silenced. And that's where we are right now. We are in Senator Joseph McCarthy territory. And the idea that you have to watch this man take the Fifth Amendment, and again, I will say that I disagreed personally with some of the CDC decisions. Absolutely, I did. That said, he's a public servant who worked for us and saved lives for decades. And we are turning him into what Rand Paul wants to be, a criminal. And Rand Paul has a political agenda, and it is prevailing here. Watching Rand Paul.
Let me remind all of you who we're talking about. Now, I couldn't find the actual clip, but I did find a clip where Valuetainment was talking about it. So here we go right here.
That's how you blew up.
I was with you in every corner of every room. They capture every reaction.
You remember that?
Yep.
There's cameras everywhere.
Yep.
So perfect. If you're telling me there's cameras everywhere, and then this is how they react, employees of TMZ, when the announcement is made that Charlie Kirk has died, and then listen to his explanation afterwards. Go ahead, Rob. That's the announcement. Exact second it was announced.
Go to
bro, that is so fucking insane. That is insane.
Explanation afterwards. Go ahead, Rob. That's the announcement. Exact second it was announced.
Go to.
We're live streaming.
Oh, Rob, I don't
all
want you to
day.
show that. I actually want you to show the whole thing. There's another clip that I have that I posted in the notes, Rob. I don't know if you see that one or not.
Is this the one, Pat?
The one from Instagram. Play that one because I want people to see 10 seconds prior to that to see how it goes. Watch this.
Guess is we're going to see
They don't know yet.
an image of this guy.
There's just live streaming.
Possibly in the next
Watch
20
this.
minutes. The news
You'll hear
conference
it.
is scheduled for 3 o'clock in Utah time, which is 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern. Janet, go.
The announcement is made.
Go.
They realize how
go
embarrassing
to,
it is.
Wow.
His partner's
have
going to the
somebody
back to
look
tell everybody
at
to be quiet.
the Fox.
Yeah, somebody go back.
Wow.
Look, Trump just posted that Charlie Kirk is dead.
And that's what they were cheering about right there. That's what they were cheering about.
Somebody look
tell everybody
at
to be quiet.
the Fox.
Yeah, somebody go back.
Look, Trump just posted that Charlie Kirk is dead.
Yeah, you're right, Pat. He went to the back.
He went to
shut the hell up. Yeah. So now watch.
What did Trump say?
Okay, forget about this, Rob. Now go to, so the second. So then what do? They go on ChatGPT. Can you tell me exactly at this time that there was another crisis that took place in California for us to say that we were reacting to? They make the argument that they're reacting to, not you, Rob. I'm saying that's what they did. So they make the argument later on. Do you have the video of them saying what they were reacting to?
Yeah, him and the producer guy.
Yeah, and so this is when they're looking at it. Watch this here, folks.
We're live streaming all day during this tragedy.
Right.
When something happened in our office, as we were reporting the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there were some people in the back room away from our news desk here who were watching a car chase.
Oh,
And-
that is not how a car. That is not how you react to a fucking car chase. People cheering because of a car chase? Stop it, dude. Stop it.
Assassination of Charlie Kirk. There were some people in the back room away from our news desk here who were watching a car chase. And they were laughing, they were clapping, and you could hear it out here. And we want to make a couple of things clear. One is that I know these people, and they were not laughing. They were not reacting that way
They
about
were
Charlie
laughing.
Kirk's assassination.
Yeah.
They were not.
Okay.
They would not work here.
All right.
If
Put them on camera and let them explain it themselves. And let's look at their social media. Let's see what they tweet about, who they follow, what their political opinions are.
they did. And that being said, we acknowledge that it was horrible timing. And for that, we are sorry. We apologize. We apologize.
We got
You
caught.
had to hear that. And I get why if you're watching the stream, you may have felt that that's what the laughter was about. We assure you it was
When the
not
laughter
about
was cheering,
that,
dude.
but it was horrible timing.
Well, then release the video and show us. Release the video. You have, as Tom was saying with Valuetainment, they have cameras all over this place outfitted for content. The entire place has cameras because it's content central. Release the footage of them reacting to the car chase and end the discussion.
Okay.
And by the way, I get it too.
Do you believe them?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So they're saying a car chase.
Okay.
This is the car chase. Let us just show you,
Yeah.
and you tell me if you believe them. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, let's find it.
Tell me if this is the kind of a car chase that you would celebrate and scream. Tell me if it's that euphoric. Go ahead, Rob.
We're showing you right there on the banner below. You can see it started in Temple City, and we saw that. Go ahead,
25
Philip.
miles an hour. Well, I wanted to let you know that President Trump has said Charlie Kirk has died. So that is the breaking news that we are likely about to.
Whoa. So that's why they were cheering. I didn't remember. I probably did react to this back when it happened. I forgot about that announcement. Holy shit.
Go ahead,
25 miles an hour. Well, I wanted to let you know that President Trump has said Charlie Kirk has died. So that is the breaking news that we are likely about to have with ABC News. He was shot in Utah at a college there. We've been talking about that throughout the afternoon here.
Rob. Okay, so he's not lying. They are watching a car chase, and they are reacting to a car chase because the announcer on the car chase said that Charlie Kirk is dead. Thank you. So Harvey is essentially in his mind, well, we're not lying. Go back 20 seconds again, Rob, and watch what happens. Go back a little bit more. Go. Right there. Watch what the announcer said. Here's the car chase that they're talking about. Temple City. Go ahead.
That President Trump has said Charlie Kirk has died. So that's
what they're reacting
breaking news
to.
that we are likely
not the car chase.
have with ABC News.
So
he was shot.
Honestly, yes. Somebody said in the chat, that's worse. This is worse.
They're watching the car chase.
So, yeah.
The announcer announces Charlie Kirk's dead, and it seems like in all likelihood that's when they cheer.
You tell me
there's
what
nothing excitable
while
going
that
on there.
second the car
This
chase.
isn't O.J. Simpson and the White Bronco.
Exactly.
Pat, I'm sorry. That the first of all, disgusting of who they are. What TMZ like. Somebody.
The reason I wanted to play that is because you got Harvey Levin here, defending Dr. Fauci, and it just kind of shows you like what that's all about. It's absolutely disgusting, and so I have no sympathy for Dr. Fauci or for TMZ or Harvey Levin. Now we got Governor DeSantis talks to Fox News about today's hearing with Dr. Fauci.
Answer questions. This is a guy who, is very much responsible for COVID in the first place with the irresponsible funding of the Wuhan lab, and he worked very hard to cover that up for many, many years. But how many things was he wrong about? A pandemic is like the Super Bowl for somebody involved in infectious diseases and public health. And yet he was wrong about lockdowns. He was wrong about masks. He was wrong about school closures. He made up the 6-foot social distancing. He was wrong about demanding restaurants be closed. And so this is the Super Bowl. This is what you live for in that field. And he was wrong about all those things. And I know that firsthand because I was clashing with him on all of those issues in those early months of COVID. He would come down to Florida and do TV hits on local news, attacking me for mandating that schools be open, for allowing restaurants to function and all this other stuff. And he would even host conference calls with mayors and counties as a way to circumvent our policies and to impose mandates, and we blocked it. And there was one of the most proud things that I can say since I've been governor is reading the diary entry, you know, where he was attacked.
Good stuff from Governor DeSantis. But yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely crazy, man. What we have seen today. This guy is the definition of evil, talking about Anthony Fauci. No doubt about it. Steve says the pardon is too general and the crimes are too great. I think PBD Podcast is right. Rand Paul is taking a grand jury approach and getting the AG to see just how bad this is. Thank you, Steve. Magnum Norris says 60% of Chicago small businesses went bankrupt. 60%, Jeremy. JRL says, I was wondering if you'd like me to DM the members of G&G to get each of your individual top 10 video game songs. If I'm asking too much, no problem. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed day. No, you're never asking too much, man. It's just a matter of me getting everything together. Chris has been kind of pestering me about it because I told her to. So it's on me. It's my responsibility. It's really not yours. But you're not bothering me at all. Absolutely not. Packy Proton says, I knew it was bullshit from day one. Why a local radio station was warning people about this, saying it was just a flu, and that vanished with no explanation. Red flag number one. Thank you, Packing Protons. And it says, I never get vaccines. The only reason I got this one was to help out at a children's charity event. Wish I never did get it because it didn't make the list cut due to people limits. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like it's hard to even think back on how bad it was. You remember, for our wrestling fans here, you remember what WWE was doing? You remember when WWE had all of these screens in the arena? Oh, that was so bad. That was awful. That was like the worst thing ever. And I do remember because Vince McMahon was still running WWE at the time. And I'll never forget, I saw a meme where it was like, NBA is shut down, concerts are shut down, NFL shut, whatever. All of these things were shut down. And then the meme said WWE, and it said Vince McMahon, and it had Vince McMahon have his arms out for the person walking out the curtain, and it says Vince McMahon introducing his new wrestler, Corona Virus. And I'm like, dude, OG Vince would have 100% had a villain named Corona Virus, and he would have been attacking whoever the champion was. OG Vince would have done that all day long. He would have too. Vince was a wild man back in the day. He would have absolutely had a character called Coronavirus. It would have been probably an overweight white dude wearing a mask. It would have been the greatest shit ever, too. Mar Miller says, to the fucking idiot saying, but Trump, this dude is pardoned for all this. So him doing this is just extra dicky. Also, Trump used his rights against actual court cases, which is legitimate, 100%. Thank you, Buster Nut Smash. McCarthy was right. Marmillan says, fun fact, he was the reason so many more people died during the 80s AIDS epidemic. He didn't look towards anything good, and he 100% misled the public. He also doubled his worth from 2019 to 2022, talking about Dr. Fauci or Anthony Fauci. What a piece of garbage. 8 o'clock says, honestly, and authenticity is the only thing that can heal the people's mistrust of the healthcare organizations. Also, as a Beagle owner, F Fauci. That's one thing, dude. Like dog owners hate Fauci. I mean, I think everybody hates Fauci, but dog owners really hate this dude. Britain for 10 says, it is indeed difficult thing to watch Fauci seemingly get away with his crimes, but Fauci will stand before God and there will be no escape from that tribunal. Agreed. Bill Herb says, Candace Owens has really poisoned the water with Kirk. It's sad. The focus should be on the leftist that killed him. Instead, a psyop has been used to take the conversation away from that, in my opinion. I agree completely. It sucks. But yeah, I mean, she absolutely has. But hey, man, people want to support her. Go for it. I'm not telling people they can't. But yeah, she is definitely poisoned the water for sure. No doubt about that. I did see this one right here. So this is they were talking about Fauci 111 times.
Homeland Security, Senator Joni Ernst, Republican of the great state of Iowa, serving on the Homeland Security Committee. That did not stop you, Senator, from leaning in and making sure the public knew the truth. Talk to me about your round with Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Harris. This is important to the American people. And I've heard from Iowans over and over again. They want to know about the origins of COVID-19 and why Dr. Fauci lied to the American people. They want to know why they were sequestered away, why they were not able to say goodbye to loved ones that were isolated in nursing homes and hospitals, why our children lost out on years of education because our schools were shut down. So we focus very much. Of course, I chair the Doge caucus in the Senate. I watch government spending. But
speaking of Doge, really quick, and we will continue this, but it's not really about Doge, but it is about breaking news. Elon Musk is launching a massive investment into the midterms to help keep President Trump's majority in Congress through his America PAC. That is per Axios. So Elon continuing to support Trump from afar. I think Elon really did realize how bad and dirty and filthy politics are. And I think he lashed out at Trump at how much he hates the American political system. And that's just fine. I mean, that Elon's Elon. You know, you got to take the so much good with the little bit of bad that comes with Elon. And so him and Trump were obviously very, very tight, and they were appearing together. Elon was going to UFC fights, and Trump was going to SpaceX launches, and Elon was at the White House. And then the next thing you know, Elon's like, he's in the Epstein files. You're like, whoa, what the fuck's going on, Elon? What the fuck are we doing? And yes, Jay, exactly as I said a while back, Elon is the only person. He's the only person Trump would not clap back at, because he's the only person that Trump has to respect. You know, and this shows that Trump actually does, he is measured with the things he says, the people he responds to, the things that he does. Trump knows exactly what he's doing. And he did not go after Elon because he knew, he's like, probably not a good idea to mix it up with this guy. Let's just let him spurg. Let's let him spurg and we'll be fine. And here we are now. Elon Musk launching a massive investment into the midterms to help keep President Trump's majority in Congress through his America PAC. So there you have it. Thank you, Elon Musk. Probably the single most influential human being on earth right now outside of Trump. It's Elon. And when Trump's not president, it will be Elon. So
my line of questioning was largely focused on the taxpayer money that was funneled to the Wuhan Institute in China, as well as a veterinary institute also housed in China, and that Fauci knew very well they were.
So BC Man says, same goes to Elon, should not mess with Trump as well. I agree, but Elon is Elon has his spurg moments, though. Like, he just does. Trump doesn't have those moments. And I asked this question of people before. I'll repeat it right here. Donald Trump has been in the public eye for my entire life. Have we ever seen Trump unhinged? Ever? We've never seen him unhinged. Because it's just not what he does. He's always measured. He's always calm. He seems to be in control of all of his emotions at all times. Elon has his moments, and that's why we love Elon.
Experimenting at different times with.
When he attacked poor Vince McMahon. That's a good one, actually.
gain of function research, even though we saw during President Obama's administration, President Obama put an end to gain of function research because it was considered so dangerous to our population. Dr. Fauci knew full well what he was doing when he was sending our taxpayer dollars to China, to the Netherlands, to a research facility in Wisconsin, knowing that it would endanger our population. But then I also focused on aborted human baby parts that were also used in research funded through his efforts, whether it was at NIH, at NIAID, but it was absolutely disgusting. And I wanted the American people to know that there are researchers that are out there doing this.
Yeah, it was fascinating. You went into great detail about that. And, you know, that meant that that wouldn't have been covered by a presidential pardon. I mean, if he had wanted to say anything he could have said about that, I would imagine that would have been just fine, according to what he thinks he can do. Let's get into that, though.
Right.
So there's a vote next week, according to Senator Rand Paul, on contempt having to do with Dr. Fauci.
Here's what I want to hear.
You and other senators.
Here's all I want to hear. This is all I want to hear is President Trump say this. This is it right here.
We're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. We're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. We're going to kill you.
What can you share about the conversation? Did that happen before all of these 111 pleading the fifth moments? Or did you decide that during, after? How did that come about?
Yes, and I believe that through the course of the day, because of course we didn't know for certain going into that hearing whether he would plead the fifth, although many of us thought that he would. So through the course of today's questioning, obviously he invoked his Fifth Amendment rights 111 times. And then towards the end of my questioning as well, I asked that the chairman direct.
Never forget, okay? I'm doing this because it's important that we never forget it. I'm not doing this because I'm enjoying this. I'm doing this because we can never forget where we were. Okay? Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. You're not allowed to yell at me. But one thing that I am aware of is I listened to my audience and I said they don't want to hear anything about the Odyssey. So I've decided instead of the segment where we talk about the Odyssey, I think that we should probably just play something that will remind us of where we can never go again. So because I listened to you, this is your fault. Here we go.
Vaccine.
We can never forget. Oh man, it's just Dr.
Fauci to answer the questions and why he thought he was covered by the Fifth Amendment, but he continued to invoke the Fifth. So we will take a look at that, explore those opportunities.
That was the comment. Why does Jeremy hate us? The only way to deal with him is to hate him back, even if we don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm having a tough time telling if people really hate me or not at this point. It's really fucking bad. I'm having a real tough time. I think I've created a monster of sarcasm, and now even I can't tell. I'm like, I think they really fucking hate me, man. I'm not sure anymore.
communities, but absolutely, we should do everything we can to make sure that Dr. Fauci is being held accountable for his misleading the American people during the COVID-19 pandemic.
How important was it today just to get this part on the record if some of you had already anticipated that he would, invoke the Fifth Amendment?
Yeah, Harris, incredibly important that we display to the American people that those that are most trusted in our federal government, and at that time it was Dr. Fauci, how someone with that power.
I'm gonna be honest, she's boring as fuck. We got to go to the 5 because she's boring.
To answer questions 111 times today on Capitol Hill. Senators repeatedly grilling him over his newly revealed COVID diary entries that raise questions about how
Dana Perino still got it. Okay, let's just go ahead and say it. Let's get that out of the way.
truthful the doctor was.
Yes, she worked for evil George W. Bush, but she still got it.
When he was doing COVID at the beginning with the American public. Before questioning began, Fauci listing the reasons why he would remain silent.
Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing.
Somebody says she hates Trump. Trust me, I'm not interested in her opinions. I can promise you that.
And intimidating me.
But then Fauci kept his answers like this.
Did you fund gain-of-function research in other biolabs around the world?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did you try to block or trap President Trump into the slow the spread, flatten the curve measures in March 2020?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer. Respectfully decline to answer. Respectfully decline to answer.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer.
Do you feel like you're a deep?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Democrats at the hearing were running some cover for Fauci and painting the hearing as a right-wing hit job.
Unfortunately, I fear the intent of this hearing is only meant to further a purely partisan agenda.
Dude, what a gamer word.
Republicans are eager to rebrand you as a villain in order to distract from their own failure to protect Americans from soaring healthcare costs.
I just want to say, start by just saying thank you to you for your service to this nation.
Must be enormously frustrating to know that this hearing is designed to entrap you.
Well, I know 4 people who will not remain silent in this segment. Greg, let's start with you. You have some thoughts.
Well, one maybe obvious point is that his obsession with the media and celebrities is exactly what the media said Trump was doing, except Trump wasn't. Trump wasn't obsessively cataloging his every utterance and appearance. He didn't need to. The world was doing it. But not only did Fauci do that, it was clear it was so comprehensive that he had involved his staff. I mean, there's comprehensive data on the other guests that he was with and the times and the topics. When you look at it, it wasn't just him. So that meant there was being, effort and energy that should have been devoted to one thing devoted to him. There's one question that it's such an easy question and he should answer it. How did he know the origins of the COVID virus when he said it was a wet market? It was one of those things where we knew that it was the lab leak. But how did he know? How did he know? Because it's like, how do you know that that's where it came from when overwhelmingly you would just assume that that was one of the areas where it got to? There's no confirmed evidence that this virus ever existed.
It goes back to, why does someone need a pardon if they didn't do anything wrong? That was what a lot of the Democrats were saying about different people on conservative side and Trump and all of that. Why did this guy need a pardon if he didn't do anything wrong?
In humans before. It's called novel for a reason. Did it just show up at the it's the animal human interaction? But it's more than no scientist would have said that. And I think that is the question that gets at the crux of what he is trying to do, which is first it was to save his research, the Wuhan lab, Eco Alliance, all those grants, but then it was his reputation and his status. And now it's probably his freedom. But I wanted to just talk about the media. God,
he's such a piece of shit. Let me catch a few of these really quickly. Packet Proton says, today's super chat funds should go towards a dog rescue charity. Fuck off, Fauci. BC Man says, you know who's as bad as Fauci? His cult supporters. Don's third leg says, I will slow down in the left lane to match the speed of the car in the right lane and hog the road. You're evil. You're evil. A pop is Studios TV. It's hard to say. But Jer Prime, did you know deer are just really big dogs? John Jones says, if I was a senator, Dr. Fauci, plead the fifth if you are gay. Turkey Jizz says his diary was on a government computer. What a dick. Magnum Norris says Fauci needs to be shamed in public and says this man destroyed lives countless. Daniel says I was told Biden had the power to blanket pardon anyone for any crime for any time period. If Fauci was blanket pardon, why is he pleading the fifth? Zenny Biscuit says I trust people more when Earnhardt's involved. Hey, I like it. I like it. Sith Lord says, Fauci in prison is an insult to the prison. Bubba Doom says, Fauci is the reason my mother's dead. I'm thankful God is just, and he hates those that hurt widows. Hell is a real place. The meds did her in. Sorry to hear that, brother. Magnum Norris says, cold flu kills millions of people every year. Packy Proton says, the hospital the event was at only allowed a certain amount of people in out of caution. I remember those days. It was absolutely ridiculous. Rock Bottom says, put Fauci in CCOT and he'll believe in whatever. Fucking, what are you saying? I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Andrew says, Fifth Amendment tax. Vic Whiplash, haven't seen you in forever, brother. Never got the jab, never wore a mask, never got tested, lost my job, but kept moving through my life and not controlled by fear. I'm better for it. Hold the line, 199. It's been forever since I saw you here, man. Good to see you. I know you're always lurking, though. VJ says the thing with COVID-19, we had no immunity to it. Rob says, hey, Jeremy, you should check out comedian, is it Aaron? Is it Wexler? She does mostly political humor, and it's right up your alley. Sith Lord says, I got the commie cooties once. 3 days later, took the whatever that is, antibodies, and it was over that evening. Packy Proton says, these proceedings show me we never grow up. Adults are just children that are bigger. You Just Man says, biggest scams are COVID, college, crypto, the 3 C's. Yeah, I mean, look, crypto bros are some weird motherfuckers, man. I don't know, but I still don't understand crypto. Crypto bros always have these weird profile pictures. It's just not a world I understand at all.
Looked at CNN. All of their coverage of this stuff is relegated to online platforms. That's their way of saying, oh, yeah, we're covering this, but they're not putting it on air. And when they write about it, they position it as a feud between Rand Paul and Fauci, which is ridiculous because it's the world and Fauci. The other thing, too, is that they have to avoid the revelations of the cozy collusion between their talent and CNN, which is another part of this whole story. They let this happen. You know, a week before, Fauci basically told us to stay home for Thanksgiving. He was having dinner with Tapper. We all know this. But when you think about the scope, and then I'll shut up, the scope of COVID, okay, the amount of death and the lasting consequences, probably the biggest story, I would say that in Biden's brain. But we've had for like 40 years, the media presenting themselves as heroes, hard-charging reporters ever since All the President's Men. A tiny speck of a scandal compared to this. They can't even muster up a single question, that one question that is going to affect us for decades. The greatest myth, besides so many that the media has protected, is that journalists are truth-telling heroes. They constructed myths on Watergate, which was enabled by Hollywood through dozens and dozens of movies, and that they were noble. But every narrative, from this one to trans, to the border, to crime, to climate hysteria, to white supremacy, the most destructive things that we've ever encountered were created by the media.
And all great points, Jesse. It is interesting. I saw someone say, why does science need the Fifth Amendment if it's science?
Yeah, and he told everybody in 2022 that he would testify.
Oh, I've got that clip right here where he said he would have no problem testifying. Let me see if I can find that really quickly. Is it right here? Here we go.
Oversight hearings, I absolutely. The answer is, if there are oversight hearings, I absolutely will cooperate fully and testify before the Congress if asked. You may not know, but I've testified before the Congress.
Real arrogant when Obama's third term was happening.
A few hundred times, okay, over the last 40 years or so. So I have no trouble testifying. We can defend and explain and stand by everything that we've said. So I have nothing to. Under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions.
He's such a terrible person.
In front of any committee. And then the committee parties changed hands and he took the fifth. I watched the whole thing, Dana.
Did you?
I might start watching hearings. You can learn a lot from watching the full hearing as opposed to clips. Did you know that he ordered his staff to apply for awards with cash prizes up to $1 million? People were dying and losing their jobs, and he was trying to win awards.
That's him. That's him. John freaking Murdoch. Hey, Jeremy, I think that we will never get satisfaction with the Fauci situation. Sorry, I'm late. I'm gonna forgive you this time, John. I'm gonna forgive you. But don't let it happen again, man. Don't let it happen again. I mean, I know you have this thing called responsibilities in real life, but the internet is real life. So I'm not going to be able to allow you to be late again. Those are the rules. I don't make them up, okay? I'm never late. Okay? Thank you, John. Good to see you, brother. Dude, my sarcasm has gotten so bad that if people don't watch me regularly, man, you would hate me if you just, like, it doesn't even matter. It's just so bad.
Legal. You can't
be like, look how he talks to people that are giving their hard-earned money. What a piece of shit.
Solicit cash prizes as a federal employee. He may have paid somebody to lobby Biden for the pardon. The pardon that goes back to 2014, the very year he started this crazy gain of function. Fauci and Birx held a secret meeting at her house to conspire to trap Trump into shutting down the economy. Oh my God. Fauci bribed scientists with grants to get them to say that the virus definitely didn't come from the lab. Fauci was involved in vaccine injury cover-ups and sabotaged the ivermectin, the natural immunity, the steroids, all to get this emergency use authorization for the vaccine. And the guy brought like 1 trillion lawyers to this hearing. I've never seen more lawyers, ever. One of the top dogs was Gold Bar Bob's defense counsel, and he threw a fit, got kicked out. And then some of the senators reminded us of some of these consequences, as Tony. Police were breaking up church services. I forgot about that. A mom was arrested for going to a football game and didn't wear a mask.
And don't forget, listen, I'm not doing this to punish you, okay? But it's necessary. Never forget how bad it was, man. This is what was going on. Play it all. I'm not going to play it all. But I'm just saying, never forget how bad it was, dude. It was awful.
Handcuffed and dragged out of the game. Measles cases are up now. Want to know one of the reasons why? Because children missed the measles vaccine during the pandemic. So the Democrats covered it up. How many people died on January 6th? 0. How many people died during the pandemic? 1 million. And they don't even care. Now, Fauci says they're only doing this because they're obsessed with him. I just want to know why 1 million Americans died. That's all. That's all we all want to know. Now, they quoted him as saying, knowledge is worth the risk. He admitted he was willing to experiment on these viruses for the knowledge. He didn't care how many people died. So that just shows the guy's a mad scientist, total control freak. He lied and people died, and he might skate. And that's what's so irritating here.
Let's get to the lawyers at the table. Harold, what did you think?
First, it's good to be back with everybody. I hadn't seen anybody in a while. The couple of things. First, I believe that anytime government acts, and particularly acts on something as monumental and significant as a health reaction, a public safety reaction, I would even argue a tax bill, or even I was part of an effort in the 2000s when we had a major accounting scandal in the country involving a big telecom company, a big energy company, and the Congress came together to act, and we named it Sarbanes-Oxley after the Senate and House leaders of those committees. We wanted to try to figure out ways to correct the problem. This issue here is different because it involved 1 million deaths. I think you should be able to come back. You have to come back and say, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? I'm not sure this hearing was the whole purpose of the hearing was to do that. I don't disagree with some of the things that have been said about mistakes that clearly Fauci made. Where I differ probably with those around the table is that it's not clear to me that was his intent.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. What do you think his intent was?
Undermine or to do harm to the country. Now, if it was and that is proven, then he'll have to deal with the consequences from that. Two, when President Trump, during the coronavirus outbreak, he was criticized by Democrats for trying to calm the country. He said some things. He probably went a little overboard in saying some things, but I didn't think it was that bad. I got in fights with some Democrats who thought he was completely out of line. He's the president of the United States. He's got to bring some calm and give people confidence.
I'll repeat what I said during that time, and I'll try to remember. But like, there's two ways to look at it. Well, let me just explain what my opinion on. I think Trump handled COVID terribly. I mean, I don't even think that's a debate. I think Trump handled COVID terribly. I think that it was so much of a massive thing that he just could not deal with it. And I think he folded to the pressure. I think he absolutely folded to the pressure. So I wanted to establish that I believe that. I don't think there's any question about that. And if people want to try to push back against that, I guess you can. But I mean, we're just calling it like it is. I think COVID was a massive failure for President Trump. Now, I don't have the answer as to how you would deal with that, considering how massive of a deal it was. And it felt like it just got out of control so quickly that I'm not sure how he could have handled it any differently, but it doesn't matter. He's a president. And I think that they completely got one over on him, and he just kind of got manipulated. But now going to where his language publicly, I don't really have a problem with his language publicly, because the leader of the free world has to have a calming voice, and he doesn't need to seem like he's rattled. But if you're talking about how it was handled overall, I think he handled it pretty poorly.
So we can fight things. I didn't think his intent was to kill people. I thought his intent was to try to figure out ways to get to what I believe was the greatest triumph of the first Trump administration, which was Operation Warp Speed. You may not like the vaccine. I did. I took it several times, and I got laughed at for getting COVID several times. I didn't die and wasn't sick harshly at any of those times. But Operation Warp Speed, to me, signals that we can do things much faster in this country if we get rid of the red tape and the bureaucracy, not only in vaccine development, but we have a moment now, we'll come to it later in this segment, about we may be running low on munitions. I wish the press would stop writing about it, and I'll come back to that too. But we ought to be able to figure out an Operation Warp Speed to develop more munitions. That's the triumph to me in so many ways of what happened during that time that we're talking about now. Finally, I'm a believer that vaccines work. And I think that one of the things that troubled me about the hearing is that I think Senator Paul, whom I know and I like, I think he and Fauci got a thing.
Trump did not force anyone to get vaxxed. Biden did. Listen, I'm not saying Trump was like Fauci level bad, but because he wasn't. He didn't go for mandates and all of that. However, he did promote it heavily. President Trump promoted it big time. No, he did not do any mandates. He didn't call for any mandates, but he promoted that shit. Absolutely. And it even took him a long time into his 2024 campaign to realize bragging about that shit ain't helping you, bro. It ain't helping. Nobody in your audience wants to hear about it. Nobody cares. And so while he didn't call for mandates, he certainly was a vaccine salesman for a long time.
Going, and they don't like one another. And I just thought that part of the exercise I didn't like. And it doesn't get to what I think the country wants to know and policymakers and lawmakers need to know. What did we do right during COVID in our public safety response? And what did we do wrong? I think we did a lot of things right, but we did a lot of things wrong as well. And we all have to be able to acknowledge that and learn from that. And I'm not sure today's hearing got us any closer to that.
One of the Republican senators mentioned that there will be, it might have been Rand Paul, that there will be another pandemic. We know that will happen. So what have we learned? I don't know. But what did you learn? And what do you think, Emily?
We've learned that nobody trusts the government and they never will again.
For a party that flies planes and launches campaigns based on no kings, it's shocking to me that they worshiped this one man and based on his unilateral recommendations threw in the towel for everything.
We've been over this, chat. I've tried to be nice. I don't want to be rude. Okay? We've been over this. I don't want to be objectified. I appreciate the compliments. I prefer super chats over compliments. I know you don't mean any ill intent, but I am not easy on the eyes. I'm not here to be easy on the eyes for you. I'm just not. But I do appreciate it. And, Fourth Observer, you would watch it for a while. You sort of already known this, but I super chats are better than compliments. Okay.
Followed him blindly. And now that's the reason that they can't bear to acknowledge that behind that curtain the whole time was a little tiny man pretending to be Oz. If the science had been correct, if his diary said, yes, all of my research shows that everything I've been saying on air is true, I stand behind it, then it would just be a shame. But now it is a sham. Now it is downright fraud and negligence and corruption and concealment of government records and obstruction of justice and so much more. And by the way, the standard for negligence, as you know, is knew or should have known. He doesn't even have to have malintent to be on the hook for that at the state level. So what I see here is not that Operation Warp Speed was the result of a concerted effort in wartime from a country. I see that it was simply at the behest of one small egomaniacal, sullen, hubris-infected individual that made everyone fall in line after him, and those that dared to question him in any way, shape, or form were vilified and ostracized. And in addition to those,
don't forget how many people, dude. So many YouTube channels got banned. So many YouTubers got banned for medical misinformation and all of that. I got hit once for medical misinformation. I also got hit with what was her name? The Release the Kraken woman. Who was that? Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell, if you remember that name. I got hit for her videos. I made videos about her when she was going after the election fraud. But I got hit for medical misinformation as well. But the Sidney Powell video got like 800,000 views in like 2 days. I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot of views. And then, that thing got hit real quick. Jay Ritzy says, just remember Fauci tortured beagles. I was going to say bagels. Beagles for gain of function. You don't hate the scumbag enough. It's why I can't, like, man, sad dog movies, man. Dogs are the best. They are literally the best. They're better than humans. They just are. They just are. And Fauci is the worst. He is the worst.
We can never get them back, million deaths. What about the hundreds of thousands of livelihoods and businesses, the weaponization of the administrative state, the multiple felonies that were booked because people dared to keep serving others in the restaurants? I mean, and this guy dares to say in his opening statement that it was about embarrassing him or intimidating him, and that he somehow had a right to privacy of his private diaries on a government computer. No, idiot. For someone that was a public servant for decades, he should know a pen he held was never his own personal pen. Everything was actually owned by the American people, and therefore we do have an interest in reading it. Thank God, in fact, he did write it on a government computer like an idiot, because now we could see that he was downright lying. And for a scientist, that people held him above that standard, they said with impunity, we believe him because he should be above all politics and above all ego. Instead, we learn that he was simply lying for his own monetary and fame gain, which is the most tragic thing of all, because it is so ephemeral. It's so gross.
Right.
And to see him today at the hearing, just final quick thought on this. He did not even have the integrity to look those lawmakers in the eyes when they were detailing the lives that he ruined, while he contrasted the death toll of that day on the same page with his Vanity Fair cover story, for example. He makes me sick. And I know that despite this limited pardon, there will be accountability legally for him and likely criminally moving forward.
We can only hope so. We can only hope so. T Little 199 says there's no COVID vaccine. It's a treatment to help you fight the disease. It does not cure or prevent any disease. Is T Little. Oh, look at that shirt, the Cobra Cash shirt. That's what's up. I love it. Hell yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see here. X-Wing trying to ride a bull says, if you are pardoned, you don't get to plead the fifth without voiding out your pardon. Is that true? Packy Proton says, I move a position to bring the blonde back in, sir. Polish Prince says, Elon Musk says, my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. He did say that. Joe C says, 2019 to 2020, 28,000 U.S. flu cold deaths. 2020 to 2021, 646 to 748. U.S. flu cold deaths. Facts, look it up. All of it was a scam, and it all involved its scum. Yeah, so you see that massive drop? Is that a coincidence? I think not. I think not. Packy Proton says, or whatever the F the lawyer lingo is. He's getting the Kurtzman Star Trek 60th CC treatment. Justin says, fuck that Cube video. I did the same exact thing, effing internet. Packy Proton says, legend has it the Cube is still rolling. How is it doing now? I sat there way too long. Way too long. It's absolutely ridiculous. We do have another thing to discuss that's not Fauci related. Alex Jones is back at it, boys. Alex Jones is calling for President Trump's impeachment and the 25th Amendment. Yep. Here we go. Here's Alex Jones.
The big issue is how to stop Trump. And we have to have Congress go for the war powers. They've 3 times tried to vote war powers. They're supposed to authorize a war. This is a war. They're getting the draft ready. If this isn't a war, nothing's a war. I mean, this is absolutely out of control. And so I'm calling for it right now. 25th Amendment, impeachment, whatever needs to happen to get this front and center, to get control of our country. It's impeachable alone that the president's supporting the NDAA. I agree with Tucker Carlson and all of the people that voted for this. The mergers with the foreign military, it actually says it in Section 219, clear as day, need to be in Nuremberg-style trials. I mean, this is unbelievable. And if you think it's crazy now, imagine what's coming with this. They want us in a total war so they can censor and take our freedoms and nationalize everything and push us aside with AI, total liability, immunity, and protection. This is a disaster. We are facing tyranny, but the public's awakening. We've got to come together and transcend left and right. and we have to say no to an expanded war that will definitely destroy the economy, kill a bunch of our troops. They're preparing a massive ground invasion.
So there's Alex Jones calling for the impeachment of President Trump and the 25th Amendment. And this is after Alex Jones, a while back, he had Robert Barnes on his show, and Robert Barnes basically said that Vance needs to tackle President Trump in the Oval Office and hold him down and lock him down and take the, I can't even remember what all that was said in that one. And I'm like, it's okay to disagree with President Trump. It's okay to not like what's going on in Iran. I totally understand that. I totally get it. But to call for like Trump to be impeached in the 25th Amendment is insane. I don't even know what is going on anymore. I do feel that people are so wrapped up in the anti-Israel stuff that they have lost any ability to be objective about what's going on anymore. And I've said it, man, the anti-Israel stuff pays really good money online to talk about it. You get a lot of views. You get a lot of support. The algorithm is extremely friendly to that type of shit. And we've seen a lot of people jump on that bandwagon. And Alex has refused to be on that for a long time. And now he's definitely there. It's just wild, man. Absolutely crazy. So, I don't know. I don't know what Alex's next play is. I have no idea, but I wanted to cover that because I was like, well, that's pretty insane. And for those that are asking, I believe that's his son that's he's talking to, I think. I've seen his son going after the quartering a lot, and that's a whole different ball game there. But I have been seeing that. So, Rex, is that his name? Rex? Okay. Yeah. I've seen him arguing with the quartering and calling the quartering out. It seems like every day somebody new is calling the quartering out for something. I can't keep up. Now taking it back to Trump in a way, I haven't heard this clip right here, but Stephen Miller just went hard against those insinuating Fauci was Trump's guy. Okay. So let's hear this and let's react to it. Again, I was just very critical of how President Trump has handled or did handle COVID. And I stand by it. I'm not saying that I have the answer, but you got to call balls and strikes. And I just think that Trump, I don't know if Trump I'm not sure how anybody could have handled COVID, but I don't think Trump handled it good.
Well, I think it's quite the opposite, Laura. If you remember in 2020, it was President Trump, sometimes alone, sometimes single-handedly, who was fighting the corrupt and broken healthcare establishment. President Trump was the one who questioned the origins of COVID. President Trump is the one who questioned the need for requiring every single American to be tested over and over and over again. He's the one who questioned whether we should require children and healthy adults to be subject to restrictions for an illness that primarily targets the elderly and the sick.
But Stephen, Fauci was all over the place on television. Yeah,
but
he went out
it's
there.
too easy to rewrite the history of this period. I was there, Laura. I have to be very clear on this point. President Trump saved America from a Great Depression by fighting against those who wanted to shut down the schools and shut down our way of life. He fought to reopen the government. And if you remember,
there's probably a lot of good that Trump did for sure. So I'm not going to dispute that either. But overall, COVID was a failure. President Trump was the president, and he probably did keep us from falling even further. But he also brought Operation Warp Speed out, and he was a vaccine salesman. And maybe he needed to do that to keep the powers that be happy. I don't know. But there was a lot of missteps for sure as well. But he probably did a lot to help.
the Biden campaign in 2020 spent hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing President Trump for fighting to keep America open at every single step. Every day, the news cycle was the so-called healthcare establishment attacking President Trump for questioning the experts. And President Trump, at the same time, moved heaven and earth because there were people who did have pre-existing conditions, they had comorbidities, who did need help. He moved heaven and earth to get our hospitals the equipment and materials they need, which is why we had a vastly lower death rate than all the other developed nations of the world. So I salute President Trump for what he achieved, and I'm glad that America got to see in the hearing today exactly why President Trump fought the healthcare establishment the way that he did, and why today Bobby Kennedy is the Secretary of Health, because President Trump has always put families and patients before the so-called healthcare government experts who oftentimes have an agenda of their own.
Stephen.
So there's Stephen Miller right there, on point. Johnny the Witskin says, almost lost my job for refusing the jab, but thank the Texas Supreme Court for overruling this mandate. It was when we played Mario Kart with per premium members. Oh yeah, I remember. X-Wing trying to ride a bull says also his pardon goes back to the creation date of the Wuhan lab. Jesus Davila with the gifted membership. Thank you. Jimbo199 says, on the advice of my counsel, I must decline it to super chat until we get some APL or Sweeney on the screen. You Just Mad says, Chris Housink says, fun fact, Joe Biden used auto pen. VJ says, dog and pony, but a doctor's reputation is everything. Narco says, F-bomb tax. Boom. Sucks to be Fauci. Dynamic says, I really dislike this man, talking about Fauci. Bill Herb says, Anthony Fauci liked the Odyssey, probably. Dynamic says that Ninja is healthier now before he got the AIDS. I had to say that one slowly. Pagnanimous says, PSA, max penalty for contempt is 12 months plus fine. Vote is next week. Pardons don't cover, let's see, international jurisdictions. U.S. has extradition treaty with El Salvador. Nandor says, I got a call during COVID that my friend got hit by a truck. Game overed on impact. The hospital he was taken to marked him for COVID. See, man, that happens so much, man. I remember it. John Orchard says, hey, TMZ, still looking for Guthrie? Oh, poor Fauci. Yeah, I think they are. Bill Herb says, would this dude argue the defense of Trump and his show trials put against him? What dude are you talking about there? Normal Man says, McCarthy did nothing wrong, by the way. John Orchard says, Jeremy, you are like Luke as a grifter. I'm okay with that. Fauci is like the evil emperor of grifting. Narco says, if TMZ was innocent, why wouldn't they have apologized? Cooper says, excuse me, Jeremy, sir. We have a misunderstanding Monday. I missed my super. I said I missed my super, meaning I didn't send one. Please don't Blue Lantern me. You got me on that one. VJ says Fauci is the high evolutionary from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Zeke the Wise says, Jer, on the topic of Fauci, play his theme song by that loser. It only makes sense. I hope you're not talking about the Colbert one. The Exalted Patriarch says, how many of y'all still have these 6-foot social distancing stickers on the ground or mask requirement stickers on doors? Here is that Sacramento? They are still everywhere. Is that what you mean? SAC? Is that Sacramento? I haven't seen those in a long time. I'm actually curious for the people out there. How many of have you? I haven't seen those things in years at this point. Let's see. None in Houston. Nothing like that in LA. I've seen a few, says Ryan. Got a few on the floor at my work. I can't get them up. Gone in South Carolina. I haven't seen them. You have seen some turkeys. It's interesting. Tucson still has them. I haven't noticed any here in Florida. We never really had a ton to begin with. I'll have to keep my eyes out, though. Trabuco says, no, you are an evil man. Maximus BT says, when are we going to see the Breets montage? Alex Aerocave says, get to topic streamer, meta PC code 199. Dynamic says, I took the vax so that my daughter won't have to. No regrets. Respect. Cherry Allen says, and how did they know there was going to be 8 strains? Hiking Expedition says, I think the 1 minute Halo 5 Hunt the Truth trailers from 2015 showing 2 different versions of the truth perfectly sums up the division in America today. Nichols says, can you explain Operation Warp Speed to me? Trump approved the vax getting developed, or was there something I'm missing or the reason behind it. There's theories as to what the reason behind it is. I'm not going to pretend to tell you I have I know the theories behind it, but Trump did approve that. But there are Trump supporters out there that they have a lot of theories as to what Trump's reasoning was behind that. I can't tell you that I share those opinions specifically. I take it at face value. I watched all of it play out. I just think Trump made a lot of mistakes during COVID. And Operation Warp Speed was definitely one of them. Doesn't mean that he made all mistakes, but he made a lot of mistakes. He did. Jimbo says, don't worry about sarcasm, Jeremy. Those of us who watch you regularly can't stand you either. That's nice. Lapco says, don't hate on me, Jeremy. I'm in the left lane trying to pass, but my bicycle can only go so fast. I'm doing my best. I'm not going to say what should happen to you. Okay? I'm just not. Storm Shadow says, Jeremy pre-ordered tickets for Nolan's Fauci and IMAX. Jake Stanley with the beers. Thank you, Jake Stanley. Over on Rumble, you provide says Fauci is exactly the type of person the Vikings created Blood Eagle for. He must pay the ultimate price publicly. And then Big Homie says, you are right. Drove from North Carolina to Texas. Sorry. No problem. And then you said, so are you going to AmericaCon tomorrow in Texas? I don't know of anything in Texas tomorrow. I'm planning on going to the event that Gary announced at the end of August. I thought it was AmericaCon. That's what I'm going to be at. I don't know anything about one tomorrow, but I'm not going to be there. I will be at the Vegas meetup, but I'm not familiar with the one in Texas tomorrow. I'm not worried. I'm not concerned about that. I'm not aware of that, but I'm not going to it. Well, whatever. Says Fauci lost his Fifth Amendment rights when he got that pardon from the Biden administration. Mod Eric says, under international law, you cannot legally be pardoned or granted amnesty for crimes against humanity. Fauci should be charged under crimes against humanity. East Coast Toasted Boy says, I think he should have asked. I think he should be asked so many questions that he ends up stumbling on that sentence and is unable to say it anymore. Since he wants to spam it, make him say it over and over again till he gets tired. And well, whatever says, it's funny you call George W. Bush evil because he was played by Thanos in the movie W. Josh Brolin. That is correct. That is correct. Southeastern Kaiju says, sorry, Jeremy, but my eyes don't roll on their own accord. You put doth, but you meant don't. And I, unlike Beardo, would never read your word incorrectly, even if you typed it like that, because I'm a nice guy. I would never do that to anyone because I'm a nice guy and I respect your super chat. Does that make sense? As far as George W. Bush, yeah, I really, 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 really cannot stand George W. Bush. He was the worst. One of the worst. I don't want to get into a George W. Bush rant, but I couldn't stand him. John Fetterman says he never bought the official Democrat-sanctioned COVID narrative. Really? Okay, let's hear what he has to say.
But for me, it never really made sense that it came from a wet market. Right. But you have this lab, and if people are cowed into, or they're afraid to just say that, being marginalized or call a name, and I think that's dangerous, and that stopped us from getting to more and having a better conversation of where did this scourge come from?
He's been saying a lot of stuff lately that's been getting a lot of people's attention. Here he says Senator Fetterman doubles down on the one regret comments he made during the Fauci hearing today. So let's hear what he had to say, Rahul.
You suggested today that the lab leak, that there was a mistruth involved in it. What do you know about America's role in creating COVID-19 in that lab in Wuhan?
Well, what I said and what I was referring to is this idea that when we all quickly discovered that China has this specific kind of a lab in the same area where that was tracked, and it's pretty reasonable, this virus that's never been seen before, that seems pretty likely that it could have come from there. Mm-hmm. And then the only people that were primarily talking about that were the far right ones. And then Democrats, we weren't really allowed to just talk about that or describe that it's racist, or there was implied that it's for kooks or for whatever. So they marginalized that view. And that was my one regret, where it's like, I was LG at that time in Pennsylvania, and we were in the middle of all of this terrible pandemic. So for me, that was one of my regrets, where now it seems now more it's become the consensus that became from the lab. And now I think we just became too partisan during that, and we should follow the truth. It doesn't matter if it comes from the right or the left or whatever. But when you have this, in Pennsylvania, we were trying to balance the protecting lives and protecting livelihoods.
Yeah.
And it was a difficult balance. Of course, I've had people in my family die from COVID, but I met people that lost their livelihood. It was horrendous. People seem to forget how terrible that was.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and somebody just super chatted about it, but like Cuomo was the definitive media personality with CNN. I gotta find it. Oh, the COVID thing with him, man, where he made his like grand return and all of that. It was the most cringy thing I have ever seen. I got to see if I can find it, where he showed how he was returning from the basement in his house. It was so bad. I don't know if I can find it. Let's see. I'm sure they scrubbed that one. Is this it? Oh my God, dude. This is so fucking cringe. This is the cringiest thing that happened from COVID. This is so fucking bad. Chris Cuomo cleared to end self-quarantine.
Opening means for the rest of us, and obviously to the people there, and a little bit of me here as well. We had a huge day today in Casa Cuomo. Take a look at this. All right, here it is. The official reentry from the basement. Cleared by CDC, a little sweaty, just worked out, happens. This is what I've been dreaming of, literally for weeks. My wife, she was cleared by the CDC. She doesn't have fever, she doesn't have the symptoms anymore, more than 7 days from her quarantine. We're still a little scared, so I'll just give you one of these, just give you one of these, just give you one of these, just give you one of these. Bella has, of course, taken the video. This is the dream, just to be back.
Dude, it fucking physically hurt. This is worse than Colbert's thing. This is so bad. This is the worst thing.
Up here, doing normal things. Let's bring in Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Doctor, one of the things you may observe in that, and by the way, it's very important tonight, especially that Sanjay is in Atlanta. He lives there. So we'll get a little kind of cross purpose about how he feels about what's about to happen in his own state. But what you may have noticed there, Sanjay, very quiet welcome to me when I walked up the stairs. Two reasons for that. As the Onion captured, they really don't want me out of the basement. But secondly, this has spooked the family. You know what I mean? We're spooked by this, like families that you've talked to all over the country. It really rocked us when Christina got a case.
And with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, I remember him being very anti-Trump, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, he was very anti-Trump in the 2016, the lead up to the 2016 election, I think. Outside of that, I don't really have any recollection of hearing any of his opinions on anything because, who cares? But am I right about that? Super, super anti-Trump leading into 2016. But watching him return from the basement and oh my God, man, it was just so fucking bad. Play this video where Fauci predicts a pandemic just months before he restarts gain of function research in 2017. I don't know. Like, I did a search on that, and I mean, there's a lot of videos for now this. I don't know which one of these would be it. There's one from like 6 years ago, so I'll look up that and see, but I don't know which one to click on. There's several of them. So 8 o'clock says, remember Cuomo was the media mouthpiece for Fauci, so he should be right next to him. That is true. Vault 199 says, play Resident Evil 4 remake. It's not a remake, but it's kind of fun. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe one day. Johnny Whitskid says, please play the video I requested. I don't even remember which one you wanted me to watch. I'm getting ready to wrap this up. We're at 2.5 hours. So maybe next time, man. Maybe next time. Bill Gates made a fortune. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. A lot of them did. Sadly, that's just where we are. Packy Protons did send that 111. And I kind of want to respect I didn't forget about you, Packing Protons. I didn't forget about you. Okay. So for you.
And this is how much it was. $500 donation. You know what he says? Nothing. Drops $500 on the table. Looks over at everybody at the poker table. Dropped it on there. Moonwalked right out of the saloon, double doors. Didn't say anything. Spurs on his boots. Couple holstered handguns. Cowboy hat. Thick mustache. Dropped the money on the table, looked at everybody square in their eye, and just moonwalked right out of the saloon double doors. Didn't say shit. Didn't say anything. No message there. Didn't say jack shit. And you have to be a cocky son of a bitch. First and foremost, that's not cheap. You got to be a cocky son of a bitch to drop $500 and just bounce the fuck out of there. Don't say nothing. I respect that.
I respect that. I respect it so much. I gave you the Ripper clip at a discount because of the way that you worded the super chat. Okay. John freaking Murdoch for 50 says, hey, you got me on my bad spelling all the time. You got me on my bad spelling all the time. I have to proofread 3 times before I send. It's supposed to say you get me on my bad spelling all the time. You get me on my bad spelling all the time. Not you got me on my bad. That's not how the word works. It's you get me on my bad spelling. Right? And it's still wrong. Love it. No, those days are over. What days are over? You had me at hello. You know what I'm saying, says Jared is here. Now Jeremy's a grammar teacher. I mean, what do you expect? I am a political expert. I'm a gamer. I'm a movie expert. I'm a sports expert. I'm a theme park expert. I'm also a grammar expert. Okay? Yes, Cinnamon Brown Sugar said it correctly. I mean, listen, I don't know if John's just fucking with me. I have no idea. Kite Man says, I don't know. I think the Imagine sing-along was worse. That one was really, really bad. That one was really bad. Carnal says, cue up the SNL clip of Brad Pitt cosplaying as Fauci. Is that a thing? Dude, don't. No. Why do I is this a real thing? I don't know if I've seen this. I can't play SNL clips on stream because they'll hit you for it. Brad Pitt dressed up as Fauci? No way. How have I never seen this? Brad Pitt, SNL, Fauci. Oh no, I've never seen that. I've never seen this. It's got 14 million views. SNL will hit you, so I can't play it, but that's the clip right there. I have never seen this. Holy crap. Wow. That is sad. That is sad. Holy shit. Mar Millen says, expert, we playing fast and loose with that definition here. I've never seen that clip, and I'm glad that I never have, and I have no interest in watching it. Zero interest in that one. Holy crap. Your Barmy says, don't forget Jeremy Osteen. Jeremy Osteen. Yeah, if I could react to that clip, I would, but SNL will hit you and block your video really quick. I've learned that one the hard way, unfortunately. What is this? Jake Tapper is finally discussing Fauci diary entries.
I think Republicans were going for here was that Fauci was saying things publicly that didn't necessarily line up with what he was thinking or saying privately. Some of Fauci's private diary entries seem to contradict his previous public statements. For example, in a March 2020 entry, Fauci recalls a conversation he had with then New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. Fauci wrote, quote, I spoke with Bill de Blasio and convinced him based on what I was saying publicly in my conversation tonight to close the New York City schools. He had already decided based on what I was saying on TV.
Oh my God. Do you remember de Blasio with the fries? Oh, can I find that one? That was the worst thing. That was, you know what? The more we talk about fucking COVID and shit, the more like you remember all the bad things that happened. De Blasio has the worst COVID moment. That one ranks at the top now. Yeah, that's the worst one with the French fries. Oh my God. That was the, yep, here it is right here. Here it is. Oh my God. This is the worst shit ever. Here we go.
Free fries when you get vaccinated. I got vaccinated. You're saying I could get this? These delicious fries? Wait a minute. But there's also a burger element to this. Let me check with Bill Neathart. Is it too early in the day to eat a burger? No. This could be breakfast? Okay. I want you to look at this and think about, again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination. I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment. Free fries when you get vaccinated?
Bro. What the fuck? Oh my God, dude. Joints for jabs was a thing too. I just don't get, like, how did they think this would be good? How? It's fucking insane, dude. Jeremy would get vaxxed for Culver's, changed my mind. I mean, we all have our price. Yeah, we all have our price. Pat K says that you got to end on a high note, play some flyovers or something, react to cool American stuff like fast cars or freedom. It's not a bad idea, actually. Let's see. Jeeping Baylor says Odin posting panic and TDS shit on X again. Odin overreacting to something? No, never happens, man. Odin's always measured and controlled and never takes sarcasm seriously. He never does that. Odin never takes sarcasm and then just like blows it out of proportion. He never does that, so he'll be fine. Shake Shack was pretty bomb, though. Shake Shack is great. Fast Cars and Freedom, always a good idea. Yes. It's a great song, too, by Rascal Flatts. That's a great song. I like that song. Anyone remember when Michael Bloomberg was mayor of New York City? Yes. I remember that. Bloomberg, like, that guy is a charisma vacuum. He has, I got to get this off my fucking screen, by the way. But Bloomberg is a charisma vacuum. Absolutely. What is this right here? I don't think I've seen this one. Ron Johnson pulls up a chart comparing adverse events among vaccines in the middle of Fauci's hearing. I haven't seen this one.
I was going to ask you, I mean, were you carefully monitoring the safety surveillance systems like VAERS and vSafe that literally were deluged with complaints? You know, currently, worldwide, there have been almost 1.7 million adverse events reported to the VAERS system. Of those, over 39,000 were deaths. And of those deaths, 24% occur on the day of vaccination within 1 or 2 days. 24%, which, by the way, just happens to be the same percentage that a Rasmussen poll pointed out. The American public believe 24% of the American public believe they know somebody who died of the experimental gene therapy. So again, I was certainly interested in asking you whether or not you were following this as carefully as I was. It's not my responsibility to follow safety surveillance systems, but I did. And by the way, when I published this.
Yeah. Somebody said it in the chat. No remorse, no soul. He really is a soulless, evil piece of shit, man. You could just see it in his eyes. This man is pure evil.
This is actual government information. When I published it and people had me on their shows, they would be censored by Facebook. They would be deplatformed. I think largely at the behest of the actions you took to make sure that disinformation wasn't spread. This wasn't disinformation. This was the truth.
I've had enough of Fauci for one day. Man, I just can't stand this dude. I really can't. Again, I will refrain from saying the words that I want to say about him. He's such a piece of shit. He's worse than a beggar. Narco says, I watched SNL Brad Pitt for you. Start off okay. Maybe tried to be funny. Then went full TDS by the end. Still better than Wokeland's Odyssey. I've rarely, like, Brad, it's obvious Brad Pitt probably has TDS, but I don't think I've actually heard Brad Pitt give a genuine interview where he's had TDS, but it's just assumed that he does have it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Brad Pitt has went full TDS and interview. I'm not, obviously that's his comedy skit. So I'm talking about like a real interview with Brad Pitt where he's actually went full TDS. You know what's weird about Brad Pitt? I don't want to be wrong about this. So, because hang on. Let me pull this up. So his kids like want nothing to do with him, and I'm not sure if it's because of Angelina or what. I have no idea. But is this it right here? Brad Pitt taking responsibility for family's estrangement as his and Angelina Jolie's kids move to legally drop his last name. Like, I mean, adopt a bunch of third world people and then they just don't want anything to do with you. I have no idea what the deal is with it, but like, it's very, what's her name? Amy Coney Barrett. You know, when I saw Amy Coney Barrett, when I saw like her family, and I'm not trying to take shots at people's family or anything like that, but when I saw Amy Coney Barrett's family, I'm like, oh, she's one of them. Yeah. Not good. Amy Coney Barrett should have never been chosen. Never. For Supreme Court. The moment that you saw that picture, you should have been like, nope, out. Never mind. Get her out. So anyway, all right, we're going to end it there. Thank you guys so much. It's been I'll be honest, if it wasn't for the chat, this would have been a terrible stream because we had to deal with Fauci the whole time. But it's a good stream because of the chat. But my gosh, man, dealing with Fauci for that long has been a disaster. But thankfully, we got all of you here. So I appreciate it. They still have a gaming stream going on over on Geeks Gamers Play. If you guys want to go hang out with them, I don't know how much longer they're going to be live, but you guys can go over there, hang out with them. And I will be back tomorrow. I'm going to try to do multiple streams tomorrow, and I'm going to try to do a gaming stream tomorrow night as well. So thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good evening, and we will talk to all of you later. Bye, everyone.